And then the 3 lists are their prompts that we use in doing this work. And they are made up of our childhood experiences, childhood trauma. I also just call this kind of past events or patterns, because it's really, to me, it's anything up to like non-present happenings. It could be last year or even last month. And that's any pattern that you saw happening as a kid or any significant event. So a pattern example might be going to grandma's house was always a really stressful time, or being bullied at school, anything that was a pattern that repeated over time and had a significant effect on you. Also, obviously, events like when we had to move away from our hometown, or when I lost someone significant to me. And these things, as you write them on all 3 lists, you really just want to write a bulleted list. You don't want to get too much into the emotional aspect of it, because you want to be able to look at this and not be, totally triggered just by looking at it. But with that said, I will say that the 3 list is a place of big resistance for a lot of people. And so if it does not have to be the first thing you do, it's not the priority so much as the JournalSpeak work itself. So be gentle with yourself and don't feel like you have to do it all at once. The second list is so present day triggers or day-to-day stressors. That could be anything like work or family or grocery shopping, anything that causes you stress in the day-to-day. And then the third list is often referred to as personality traits. And then I also include core beliefs or worldview. So these are things that you have come to, hold strongly to, whether it's things that you believe about yourself or things that you believe about the world or other people. So some examples might be a belief that I'm a perfectionist, or a belief that relationships are hard. Anything that we just have, decided to take on sort of as part of our identity. So these are my examples that I use for things you might put on your 3 lists. And what I recommend people to do is to start trying to make connections. And you can I have this in my, if you have my JournalSpeak resource pages that I gave you guys on the Kajabi platform, I have this written out if that's helpful. But basically you can make a statement like, because mother left us when I was a child, now I believe that relationships are stressful. And because I have that belief that relationships are just stressful, I have social anxiety triggers that come up in the present day. And that is like starting to understand where we picked things up from in the first place is what starts to really give us the agency to put them down. And when we look around, I think what's really helpful in terms of answering the question of like, what's normal or like, what's everybody else thinking in these situations is start watching people, and look to people who you admire or who you see as handling things well, whatever that means, but just start looking around and kind of exploring, this is how I feel about this thing or this person or this relationship. How would I prefer to feel? Or if I were Caroline, how does she feel about that? Or how would Phil respond to this kind of situation? And when we start kind of opening our mind to explore our options is what starts really helping us to notice the difference and to then start processing so that we can create changes and interrupt those patterns for ourselves. Because that's so much of what's happening. We get into a pattern early in life and it served us well at that time. It was a great mechanism for safety and protection. But we get to a point later on where we're like, okay, this isn't serving me. This is just making me sad or stressed or whatever it is, or it's causing me pain. And I have to find a way to interrupt that pattern. whether it's in new relationships or in changing, the way I look at things or think about things. And that's, again, like so much of what JournalSpeak is helping us to do. It's like changing the way that we think about things.